Len Ablat Gemara, so Shabbos, Parshas Achedur, Altavarchim, we're up to the Kuf Aleph. And we're talking about the Pasuk Kol Yimei Ha'oni Royim and the Toivulei Mishta Tamid. You know, the Torah says, Shnayin Hayom Oila Tamid. Every day you have to bring twice a Tamid, carbon Tamid. So it says in the Sfarim that the very first Siman Shulchan Aruch says we have to always remember Shivisi Hashem L'Negdi Samid. And the very last Sefer Shulchan Aruch is the Toiv the Rambam, the Toiv Leiv Mishta Tamid, and these are the two Tamidim that we need to live with every day: our faith in Hashem and to be happy. So working our way through, what do we call you may oni royim? So first we said somebody has a bad wife versus somebody has a good wife, and then we said somebody who's very fastidious, and actually on the bottom of the page, Rabbi Yanai Oimer. That's Kuf on the base, at the very bottom of the page. Abiyad says, "Call you may only royim." What do you mean all the days of a poor person is bad? It's Eastern. Somebody's very fastidious and is very, like OCD. The toiv leid misha tam is like to up for somebody who's very calm. Then he's always happy. Rabbi Yechon says, "Call you may only royim." That Rachmani. Somebody has so much Rachmanas. Everything he reads and he hears, every time there's a tragedy, it Pasha eats him up. So therefore, he can't live with himself because a toiv misha tam is a achzori. Somebody doesn't care about anybody in the world, so he's always happy. That's somebody that has that he's always worried about his friends, and he's paranoid. Somebody's always paranoid. He's always, what's going to be tomorrow? What's going to happen later? Like in the Torah says, you don't even know if you can have food tomorrow. Again, a person is confident and he's not worried all the time. Rashi gives a second shot: somebody with a quick temper versus somebody who's very patient. What do you mean all the days of a poor person is bad? It's not bad. And Rashi, interestingly, says there is not a poor person in the world that doesn't get extra food in Shabbos. It flies in the face of Gemara we learned in Bay and other places that Rabbi Kiva says, "Asay Shabbat chachol v'al tisal," that a poor person it's better not to have food on Shabbos than to go out and ask people for help. So others want to learn like Shabbos Yom Tovim. I was talking about not so much food, but more that even the ani is not running around and is a bit more relaxed. Shmuel wants to know, like Shmuel, that if you change your diet, it's the worst thing. So it's food, we understand. But even if not food, that we had other Gemara about, if a person works all the time and one day he doesn't work, he feels weak. So what we learned. Hakoide posuk shel shir hashirim. Shir Hashirim Asher Shleima, we say that it's Chachman or so on, but Shir Hashirim also is a book of songs, poetry. So we would have thought that particular part of Navi you're allowed to sing. But Isaac Mizembe turns into a song. Somebody who reads psukim in these party houses, these taverns, below his money, not at the right time. It's not yontif something. Maybe he brings bad to the world. Again, why does he bring bad to the world? Because the Torah is upset. The Torah wraps himself up in that you turn me into a hop that goyim will and play with. What am I? Am I a little songbook? Hashem says to the Torah, my daughter, while they're eating and drinking, they want to be merry. But is ask her what else you do? What's wrong with singing songs from Shir Hashirim? You ask them Torah if they're not learn Chumash, let them learn Tanakh. Talk to say the Torah at the table. If they know how to learn Mishnah, you ask them Mishnah about Halacha Goddess. Let them talk about Mishnah Halacha Goddess. If they Bali Talmud, they're capable of learning more profound stuff. Then Yasku. Now this is a hard one to understand. Behilchas Pesach bePesach. When it comes to Pesach, you should learn the laws of Pesach. Behilchas Atzeres Batzeres. When it comes to Shavuos, learn the laws of Shavuos. And Behilchas Chag b'Chag. When it comes to Sukkot, learn the Sukkot. Now the Rif. Now why is that about Talmud? In fact, that aligns more with Bali Mishnah. Mishnah are facts. Talmud is understand Pulpul, and you tell me you should learn Shulchan Aruch. So the Rif actually has a different gear. Im am Oretzu Yasku behilchas achag b'chag etc. He should learn Talmud and so on. Now, when we say singing Shir Hashirim, there's actually Machekes Rishonim. Rashi, first of all, says if you're singing Shir Hashirim, but not the trup, the cantillation that you have there. The truth of the matter is we don't really know what the trup is, but Shir, in Tehillim, these things you have trup. We don't really know what they are, even though it says that Marash knew all the different song. Yeah, he sings down like a song. And so according to Rashi, now the Rameh in his first shot learns exactly that. You're not allowed to sing Shir Hashem for anything. But another shot Rameh says, it means you're not singing L'Shem Shemaim. If you're singing L'Shem Shemaim, you can make your own tune. If you're singing a pasuk because you want to inspire yourself with the words of that pasuk and you give it a tune, there's nothing wrong, and you're allowed to. So it's two very different opinions in the Rameh about all these songs.
Also, in which he talks about this new invention that was recently made called
Ramaphone.
Yeah, and then he talks about these tipshim who play recordings of Chazonim in pubs and taverns and things. He talks about it was like this. It's a lot of bizoyin that is for the.
Because we had the ending of we had the end of Saito on Gittin Davov about the Chor Beis Hamikdash. You're allowed to. Here it says you should talk about the laws of Pesach on Pesach itself, Shavuos on Shavuos itself. Other places we learned 30 days before, and Rashi himself says it previously also means 30 days before. So some of the Shayim want to say there's a difference. 30 days before is if somebody asks you questions about the laws of Pesach, is Shoyel K'inyan, he's asking correctly. If he asks you 2 months before Pesach, you don't have to answer him because it's too early. What are you asking me now for? My head, I'm not in that space. But here we're talking about actually not waiting for them to ask, just to go out there and give them all the dinim that relates to Pesach. Says further, hey, if you read a pasuk in the right time, maybe to a little bit good to the words when it says the we say something in the right time, how wonderful it is. The Mishnah continues talking about people who forfeit their haba. If somebody uses a pasuk on a wound as if the pasuk is healing you, and you're trivializing the value of Torah. So says the Gemara, and when do we say you forfeit your chelik in Olam Haba? The roikik ba. It's talking about a Rashi brings from his Rebbe's. First you spit on the wound, and then you say pasuk on it. If you reverse the order, first you say the pasuk, and then you spit on your wound. That's not really, you don't lose chelik in Olam Haba. It's not nice. Anything else, maybe it's Isa, but it's not. You don't forfeit. It's only if you follow the methodology of those people who believe in these incantations that you spit on the wound and then you say a particular pasuk. That's when it is a problem. In fact, he brings it to that you're allowed to. Not only that, you're allowed to first say a pasuk and then the spit. The only time it's us is if you use a pasuk with Hashem's name in it. Rav says, Rav says, even if you say a pasuk doesn't have Hashem's name in it, but it refers to a tzaras, for example, sickness, and you use that pasuk, you spit, and then you use that pasuk, it's a problem because it's as if you're saying the Torah is being used as a remedy. And Achanim goes further. At least that pasuk deals with sickness, so therefore it looks wrong. Even a simple pasuk in the Torah has totally unrelated to sickness. If you spit and then you say that pasuk, that appears to be loichish alamak. From we learned. Sochin, you're allowed to smear oil. They used to smear oil and then try to knead it into the stomach and massage it, even on Shabbos, because you're not doing anything at all. The loichashin lechishas nechashim from the Shabbos, you're allowed to say chants to keep away these mazikim that are threatening your life. You're allowed to say them on Shabbos, because you're not doing anything, you're not trapping. Take a metal thing and place it on your eye on Shabbos. It seems it was common to place a thing on your eye. Only if it's not muktzah. That you're not allowed to move on Shabbos because it's muktzah. That also you're not allowed to use it to put it over your eye. We're going on the next part of the Mishnah where it says you're not allowed to say chants. You have a wound, and then so we're saying it's only also if you first spit on the wound and then you say a pasuk relating to anything. The pasuk is as if that's going to heal you. They shaylim b'dot shadim b'Shabbos. Now this is interesting because they used to. It seems it's quite common for people to communicate with shadim, and we're not talking about tzaddikim. We're talking about even average people who communicate with shadim. So you're not allowed to communicate on Shabbos with shadim to seek for help because it's why it's like a weekday activity. And you know the ugdin the chayil. Rabbi says abchel said you shouldn't deal with shadim because you can't trust them and it's dangerous. I want to machlekes if halacha Rabbi or ain't halacha Rabbi machlekes shadim. What's the correct version? In the last narrow line. Why is he object communicating with Shadim? Because it's dangerous. What's the story? Now there's two versions here. Our version of Gemara is once a shade went ahead and did some spell on him that he got swallowed up by a cedar tree. Vis abed lenis, and then a nest occurred. Poka arza upolte. The cedar tree split open and burst him up. But when Rashi learns that the nest was that he got into the tree. The shade wanted to hurt him, and the nest happened that he was swallowed by the tree, so the demon couldn't touch him. So we learned. Sachin we just said before, you're allowed to smear and then you're allowed to massage your stomach. On Shabbos, do differently during the week. What do you mean? How do you do it differently? First you put the oil on, and then you go ahead and you massage you massage the stomach. Because in the weekday, first you used to massage the stomach and get it going, and then they would smear the anointed. But here, it's the other way around. Or Rabbi says, that's not good enough. Do one before the other. I don't care which order you do it. It's like uvd in the chel. You have to do it simultaneously. Then it's different than they do it in the week. Otherwise, it looks like medicine. So I learned. Shari, sorry, shemen, sorry, bayim. I don't ask exactly how this works, but they used to talk to Shinda, the demons, via oil, or talk to demons via eggs. So whatever that is. We taught in Lishal Behen, you're allowed to do that, but you should. Some people say, don't, you're reading about but don't, what's the point? You can't trust them. Or the reason why you're allowed to do it is even on Shabbos, even on Shabbos, because it's nonsense. Before we said that on Shabbos you should talk to demons because it's like you're doing your weekday activity. You're doing business on Shabbos. This is nothing. It's stam shtus. That those people who communicate to Shadim, they go through oil, they say some kind of chants. And the oil is only inside a vessel. If the oil is sitting inside a vessel, nobody, however, if you have oil in your hand, you wouldn't try to communicate to a demon via the oil in your hand. Therefore, somebody else has a hand outstretched, you're allowed to take the oil and use it because there's no spell there at all. Don't trust somebody else's oil in a vessel because who knows, they might have put a spell there. Once came to this hotel, she brought him oil in a kb shuf and he made it on himself. Something that boils all over his face. There was some kind of spell on that oil. She didn't realize. He went out in the market. Chazisi Itzi saw a woman. She said, Zika de I see the impact of this demon known as Chemas that had an effect on you. Of the Lamilsa, she did something to Itzi was cured. I mean, it sounds like in those days it was so rife. Demons, magic. All the sickness in the time I will make sure it doesn't happen to you because I'm a doctor. The obvious question. If Hashem won't make sure we don't get those sicknesses, and we had the communion machal, we don't get those sicknesses, then what do you need a doctor for to cure you? The pasuk is made up of two parts. It says another pasuk. He said, there's a proviso. If you listen, if you listen to me, you won't get sick in the first place. You don't listen to me, I'll make you sick, but I'll then go ahead and cure you. But who got sick? And we had a whole gemara of Hamaches at the end of that, Rabbi got sick and they didn't, afterwards he was still in Ched and they didn't talk to him. And we have a number of stories of Rabbi was sick, these Talmidim came to him. So it's hard to understand that it all happened at the same time, but there's different times when he got sick. Even though the Chedim, they used to come and visit him when he was sick, and then they would leave. And that story we learned before, that's like the ultimate, that was the last time when he passed away. Then he told them, each one of you are going to die. Not a very happy death, especially Rabbi Akiva. Nevertheless, okay, it says the Gemara, so they came to visit him. He said to them, there's a anger in the world, a strong anger in the world. That's I'm sick. They all began to cry because Abba was sick, and he's saying that David is upset. Rabbi Akiva was achik, and Rabbi Akiva was joyous every time. Every time the Chachamim were upset, and then the Makkas was the other places, he's laughing. Why are you laughing? He said to him, why are you crying? Last time they called him that he was a Hasina. I'm sure called him, but here they call him a Sefer Torah. That he was resting inside. It's amazing. He was a Sefer Torah, he was a Hasina, and yet they didn't talk to him for years because they put him in Cheder. And Nifkin, we shouldn't cry. Said, so I'm happy. I said, what do you mean? I see that everything goes well for him. That is wine. is not getting sour, ain't pishtani leike, and his flax is not getting afflicted, ain't shmani mavish, and oil is not drying up, ain't divshani mavish, and his honey's not getting rancid. So everything's going well for him. Maybe he's getting his chad in this world now because he's putting chay and everything else. So maybe he's getting rewarded now because he won't go to Gan Eden then. I see that he's getting some pain, which is a kapara. And he said, now I'm happy. When he's tired, I'm happy. Famous of Sadia Gon, that he was once standing and talking to his Talmidim, and he had a ring that he bought for his wife, and then standing by the water there, suddenly the ring fell out of his hand, and it was swept away, and he began to laugh. Talmidim was so upset, he spent all his money on this ring, and then 2 minutes later, 5 or whatever it was, while he's talking to them, a wave came and brought the ring right back to his feet, and he started to cry. And the Talmidim couldn't understand it. They asked him, "What's this?" He said, "Very posh." He said, "Kolzman, that things are happening bad to me. Exactly what over here. It's like a potter, and I know things are going well. The moment that things are going extraordinarily good, I'm getting worried. But there's more to the story, which another time. So I learned. I got sick. 4 people came to visit him. Apart from Rabbi Shua, Rabbi Loz, Kiva. Some Mefarshim have a problem learning Rabbi Shua. Rabbi Shua was his arch nemesis. Rabbi Shua want to put him in Chelim, and he keeps on coming to visit him all the time. Is it guilt? He keeps on visiting all the time, and you'll see in a second the language that he uses doesn't sound like it would be Rabbi Shua. He's the one to put him in Chelim. Look what it says. Then so you're better to eat and then rain. You benefit us in this world and in the world to come. This is despite the fact that it's a Chelim. Unless this story happened before he was put into Chelim, which maybe that's what happened. That's the only way to understand why Rabbi Shua was there. You see the language. Anyway, he says you like rain. The thing about rain is that not all year round you want rain. The season's for rain. Come to Rabbi Shua says, I'll tell you, that is better than that. Rabbi Shua said, you are better to the Eden. You're better even in the sun. Now the sun is no season. The sun we need every single day. But again, at night there's no sun. Comes along Rabbi Loza ben Azai, you talk about this whole Yosim Avim, like a father and mother. You're always the parents of your children, day, night, season, no season. Then Rabbi Kiva Amar, Chaviv Yisurim. It's good that you're having Yisurim. Again, so he's so contrary, so very contrary. Samchuni, he said, Rabbi Loza said, please sit me up. Prop me up. The Esh Rabbi Kiva tell me, I want to hear what Rabbi Kiva has to say. He's finding something positive. You guys are telling me other things about me. He's finding something positive in what's happening to me right now. I know it's a good thing to have Yisurim. It says Ben Shneim Esrei Shana Menashe b'Molkei. Menashe became a king when he was only 12 years old. The Chamishim v'Chomish Shana Moshe, and 55 years he reigned in Shalim. But Yasser Rabbeinu Hashem, he did terrible things. And it says in the passage, Gam Eila Mishla Shleima. Who wrote Mishla? We written at the end of the first page of Abasa. Who wrote everything? Every Tanakh. Mishla was written by Chizkiah from Sayata. Chizkiah wrote it. So if Chizkiah wrote a book to benefit the entire Klal Yisrael, surely he included his son Menashe. So Chizkiah Malach Yehuda Melech Yehuda Chol Elam Kulei Lima Torah Menashe Lima Torah. You think he taught the whole world Torah and teach his own son Torah? Elam Kol Torah Shekorabai. But nevertheless, you don't think that he tried to teach his son Torah? Of course he did. And all the tirch and all the work that he put in that he did in his son, it didn't work. But what could this Gemara here follows and Menashe actually did tshuva. Ela Yisudin, when he was in trouble, then suddenly he did tshuva. Remember it says, Hashem spoke to Menashe and his people, even to the Eibishter. Menashe didn't listen. The Eibishter then he brought on him the Sari Atzav of the army, the officer of the army, Shalamelech Asher, the king of Asher. They captures Menashe in chains, or in hooks, and they tied him in chains, and they brought him to Babel. And then what does it say in the pasuk? It says, now that he was being oppressed, suddenly he turned to the Eibishter and started to daven. And and humble for the Kevin. He's following down to Eibishter by Yotla. Hashem listened to him. And he begged by Yishmat Chinos. Hashem listened to his pleas. And he brought him back. By Shevei Yerushalayim Machosei, he brought him back to Yerushalayim. By Yedim Menashe Hashem Lekim. He knew then that Eibishter Lekim. So you see, what made Menashe the tshuva? Not able to talk to him. It's not for suffering, and this is a fact of life. So this is what Kiva said. That's how I know Yisurim is a good thing. Torah we learn Shloisha Bar Balila. 3 people came. We'll see later. We'll see later. What do you call it? Torah we learn Shloisha Bar Balila. 3 people came to David with a tiny that David couldn't say no to. Elu and Kayin, Esav and Menashe. Talking about Menashe. This is how we. It's interesting, fascinating. If you wrote, you see how the Gemara, every digression makes sense. From Menashe, we see it from Menashe, and we'll go back to Menashe later again. Kayin deceived God. And said, "My sin is too. When he killed Hevel, my sin is too great for you to forgive." What was he saying to Abraham? Oh, Klum. There's a subtext to every one of them. Klum Godel Avayim Meshishiribu. 600 people are sitting lachtel Fanecha. They're going to bow down to the eagle, the entire Klal Yisrael, and say, "Eri lelech Yisrael." Yet you're prepared to forgive them. And me, I killed one person. You're not going to forgive me. Esav, it says, he says to Yisrael, you have one bracha. Now, what was the taina? He said to me, the Rashi explained, the taina was, if you only have one bracha, that means there must be another Eibishter who has other brachas. Because you're the only Eibishter, so don't you have more than one bracha? He couldn't say no. And the third was Menashe. What happened to Menashe? When he was suffering in Babel by the people from Asher, he's been chilek of his heart. First, he davened to every god in the world. Well, then he turned to the Eibishter. And he said to the Eibishter, if you can't help me, then you know better than all the other persons. Prove that you're the real Eibishter. Abba Shalom and Abba Haigas so also he said that you're the one who's another person forfeits his chayim habit, somebody who utters the name of Hashem with the letters. And Tolavilun ubegvuli, dafka outside the base of Midrash, uveloshan uga. No, if it's loshan kodesh, then there's no then it's no problem. Or if it's even in other languages and outside the base of Midrash, there's no problem as well. So what exactly is no, if you say it in English and in the base, sorry, if you say it in other languages, that even in the base of English is not a problem. It's only if you say it in Hebrew outside the base of English. Now, what exactly is what it is a big machlek we discussed last time. According to Shimon Rashi, you said the name of Hashem before the 2 letters. According to others, we're talking about Yud Kei Vav Kei, but instead of pronouncing it the way we pronounce it in davening, you pronounce it the way the vowels, like the Goyim pronounce it. Shloshim Malachim, but 3 kings and 4 ordinary people. Tell them we learned. Yeravam, what the name Yeravam is a composite of 2 words. Sheriba Am, he brought the people down because he brought these Avodah Zarah, so he brought the people down. The bracha Yeravam from the word Yeravam she'osa meriba ba'am. This is Rav Am. He advised on this because one of the things he did was he said to do Avodah Zarah. Some people will follow it, some people didn't. Cause divisiveness. The divisive between the Eibishter and the Eden because they worshipped the Avodah Zarah. Ben Navat, he was the son of Navat. What is Navat? Who is Navat? Ben Shenibet, the son of someone who saw V'lo Ra, but he didn't understand what he was seeing. What's going on here? And we'll see later in the Gemara, not today, but later on that Yerobam actually was a big Talmid Chacham, and he just it was misdirected. Tanu learned who Navat, who Micha, and who Sheva ben Bichri. Who are these people? They're the same person. Navat Shenibet V'lo Ra. He saw but he didn't see correctly. We'll see later. Micha shenismachmech bebinya. Rashi brings down that Moshe Rabbeinu, when they're leaving Mitzrayim, he saw all these people, all these kids being put in the walls and being crushed. He said, "Why are you allowing this to happen?" Abraham, these are all the Rishayim. If you don't believe me, take one out and you see what happens. He took one out, and that became Micha. Micha brought Avodah Zarah from Mitzrayim with him to later on. Moshe Rabbeinu's Yohanan ben Gershom, his grandson, became a kohen there. And then the people of Gittin stole the Avodah Zarah from Micha. A whole history there. Why it's called Micha? Because Micha means squashed. And that's the same person. Umashma, his real name was Sheva Bichli. Sheva Bichli is the one who rebelled against Dor Melech. But there the pasuk says he was from Sheva Binyamin, and he was saying that he's, because we know you don't know Shem Ephraim. That is a bit of a problem. A bit of a problem how you will reconcile those two. Now, how in the world is it possible that Micha? This is 400 plus years later. The Sheva Ben Bichli. How can it all be the same person? So from here, they bring a raya. Whenever the Gemara says about somebody like this, and the only way it works is hundreds of years, this is a reference to Gilgul Neshama. Not that this is the same person living. The Neshama of Micha entered Sheva ben Bichri and Yeravam. That's what some want to say. Because otherwise, there's no illusion anywhere of Gilgul Neshama. Bichri Leo, it says clear that he was a Leo. Yeah, but he's a Malach, became a Malach. In fact, the question over there is why doesn't it say Elio is a Pinchas? That's what you say. Elio was really Pinchas, not Pinchas Elio. So someone will say that Elio actually was first, then came Pinchas, he's a Malach, Pinchas, and then whatever. Have to understand all that. Anyway, but real name was Sheva Bichi. Three people saw things that didn't understand how to interpret it. Hey, Novat Achi Teufel. Achi Teufel was the council of David Melech. Later on, he moved with Absalom when he rebelled against David. Turned out to be he was a great grandfather of Shlomo Melech. Remember that whole Gemara Ben Sarah murder that his granddaughter Bathsheba gave birth to Shlomo when he was 6 years old. With Stigne Pare, and it's Stigne Pare, the stargazers and the astrologers of Pare. What's the story? Novat Ra Eish Shiyetze Ma'amase. Novat, this is Yerobam's father. He saw fire coming out from his male member. So he thought that shows that he's dominant. What's the dominant position? The king. So he convinced himself that he'll be king. Who saw it? He'll be king. Yerobam, his son, the nothing minay came from his male member. He will only become a king. So he misinterpreted that. Achi Teifel, same thing. Similar. So this affliction on his male member. Who saw? So he thought that means that someone else is going to get sick and he should take over. And that's why he enticed Absalom, he encouraged Absalom to rebel against his father. And he was sure that later on people would be so upset that Absalom killed his own father that they'll impeach Absalom and he'll take over the reins. But he's wrong. Bathsheba Bita really supposed to be his granddaughter. Bathsheba was the granddaughter of Achitofel, who the Nafkamine Shleimer. A king will emanate from him, but it'll be his great grandson. In Stiginia Pare, the astrologers, came a Meriva. What do you mean? This is the word. What do you mean? This is the water, the quarreling water that Moshe Rabbeinu saw. That Moshe Rabbeinu was affected by that he hit the rock, and he lost his ability to go to Israel. If Tzim Pari told me a mistake, grow. They saw Shemashin so the They saw he'll be afflicted through water. Therefore they decreed every child should be thrown and tossed in the water in the Nile. This is actually alluding to the stone with the water, not to the Nile being thrown in. Now, very interesting here, Rashi, and it's very interesting. In Chumash, we know there's like the Orach Chaim, I think, if I remember correctly, collects 9 different opinions as to what Moshe Rabbeinu's sin was. But Rashi is of the opinion that he struck the rock instead of three. The Bartim Alasela. The Ramban and everybody, everyone comes out against Rashi. The Rambam doesn't quote Rashi, obviously, but the Ramban and all the others quote Rashi because in Parshas Mashalach, he was told to hit the rock. And why would Hashem tell him to take a stick if he wasn't meant to hit the rock? So they all have them shot him, and the Rambam says he called them Shimon Ha'Moedim, the disrespect that he called the Eden. All the Eden called them rebels, even though in Chumash Devarim he continuously called them Moedim, but at that stage it wasn't. You look at Rashi here. Rashi says Amei Mediva. Sheba Oven, the sin was on the left-hand side, the first narrow line. Sheba Oven, the sin was Shama Shimon Ha'Moedim. Nenish, that's why he's punished. Well, it's wrong. How do you explain that with Rashi and Chumash? Don't know. Anyway, the Gemara continues. How do you know the Layashi Lam Lassi? I know Takirovim forfeited Chedlam Habad. All of them. The Chsiv it says in the pasuk, what do you call? Vayehi bedavar hazeh lechata. This is clear a sin. Beisirabim ulahashkit ulahashmit. Says that it'll be wiped away and annihilated. 2 things. Malpnei Adam. Lahavchit ulahazeh ulahashmit ulahhabad. 2 different worlds he forfeited. Why was it become a king in the first place? He reprimanded Shlomo for his misbehavior. So why was he then punished? He did it in public. He could have done it discreetly, especially the king. He should have reprimanded the king discreetly instead of doing this. What's the story? What was he reprimanding Shlomo about? It says, this is what he revealed that he built this milah, he built this place. David Melech went, as we'll see, he opened up all the breaches to Islam. Everybody should wait to get in as many entrances as possible to get into the whole city. But Shlomo Melech locked them all up. And he made one opening. Everyone has to go to the same place so that they can collect taxes and give all the money to his wife, Bas Pari. David made all these openings. They show the regular. And after you went ahead and get out them and you sealed them up, because they lasted like Gary Bas Pari. It actually brings 3 different sorts of what it means. But basically, the idea is you did something to make sure either they want to give cover, tribute to Bas Pari, or to actually pay taxes, because only one entrance they want to pay toll at the toll booth. And why? Because you're in love with your wife, Pare. And the third shot is what we learned last time, we spoke about last time, is that Shlomo Melech had the keys of the base of English under his pillow, and he always woke up late. And he did that so people should come and get the keys. So the base of English had to go by Bas Pare and pay tribute to her every day. What do you mean? What do you mean? He rebelled sort of against Shlomo. How? He took off his tefillin before him, and Rashi says he should have turned around. Like the Sefer Torah is out, you're not allowed to take off his tefillin, should go out of the room or something. Turn around. He should have turned around out of respect for the king, but instead he took off. When he took off his tefillin, it was bareheaded in front of Shlomo Melech. Other Rishonim say that no, he took off his tefillin before Shlomo Melech took off his tefillin. He should have waited for Shlomo to remove his tefillin before he did his own. His arrogance, she doesn't realize what drove him away from this world. Remember, it says, but Rabbi said to himself, after Tosh, I'm very worried. Eventually, if the people go, eventually the kingdom will be restored to Beis David. Why? And the name they'll feel regret for what they did, and they'll go back to the Chav Mel Yehuda. They'll kill me. The Shavuot Chav Mel Yehuda will turn back to him. Amar, and he said like this: why would they think that I'm second fiddle? We'll see. Gemidi, everyone knows the Ein Yeshiva Ba'Zora. Everyone knows that you're not allowed to sit in the base of English. Elo Malka Beis Yehuda. Only for Malka Beis Yehuda. Only Malka Beis Yehuda allowed to sit, and not Malka Yisrael. And Rashi says Halocha LeMoshe Messina. There's no pasuk word, and everybody asks because Rashi another place it says in the page there is a pasuk word. It says Lamoid L'Shodas. He should be standing in the base of it, not sitting. And why does he say it differently? So someone will say that the kvetch is a Malki Beis Yehuda, that Ein Shiva Zara is a pasuk, but that Malki Yehuda can. That was Halacha Moshe Sinai. Bavad. That's Malki. That's what I mean by yeah, same idea, yeah. And they'll see the Chav, they are sitting, but not after I'm standing. So they'll say, how Malki? Well, obviously I'm not the king. If I decide to sit down, will come to kill me. They all follow him. So right away, he consulted Hamelech, he consulted the Yashne Glizov, he made 2 golden caps. Again, when he said, you no longer need to go to Shlaim. And he convinced them that that you need also in the other part of it, so you need a Beis Hamikdash place. These are the gods of the also been done. My Yehudi consult. Very clever. He sat down, all his consultants, he had some tzaddikim, half and half, and he made sure that every one seat was a tzaddik next to the Rasha, tzaddik Rasha, who occupied the seats. And this way the Rasha can have influence on the tzaddik. Do you all agree with what I'm doing generally? Yes. Malka, and I guess he convinced him that because Achia Shalai said that he'll be the king. Okay. Malka being the Lemeva, yes, I'm going to be king. Yeah. You accept me as a king and you accept all my biddings. Yes. If I tell you to worship Avodah Zarah before if a Novi tells you that, don't listen. The tzaddik right away screamed out, Has v'shalom. How can we worship Avodah Zarah? The Russia turned around to the tzaddik. Wasn't he Rav, the Russia that he placed it? Salve, you think for a minute, you think he's going to bow down to Avodah Zarah? What do you think? He wants to know whether you're giving yourself over totally to his, subjugating yourself completely to himself. You become subservient, that's all. You think he'll ever ask you about his own? How can it be? You're going to listen to what he says. If you yes, sign under that on the dotted line. And once they signed, they couldn't retract. The Achia Shalani, the very Achia Shalani. We learned that in Babasa he was for Yitzim Mitzrayim, he was a Hasina. And eventually, after the teaching David and everything else, he also was the one who taught the Baal Shem Tov for 10 years before Baal Shem Tov was a Megal himself. He made a mistake. He also was chassid. He also was beguiled by all this, and he signed. The Yehu Tzaddik Rabba, the Yehu was a king by Malchus, and he was a very big tzaddik. Remember, said since he did all the right things, everything I wanted to do, what he did was he got all the kohenim to come and he killed out all the fake kohenim, all those who worshipped the Baal. And he said to he caused all of these sins. What's that? You said you did all the right things, and yet it says so he didn't completely follow the he left those agolim and Beis Elam done. My Gormale, how could it be? He's such a big tzaddik. How to do that? But it's crucial for time. He said something with his lips that he couldn't get out. What happened? Shlomo says, even though he meant well, Achav Eved Abal Ma'at Yehu Avden Habe. How did he track all the coin? He made an announcement. Achav, he did small stuff. You come to me, I'm going to make an Avodah Zorah like unbelievable. So they all came. And once they came, he killed them all out. But because he said, I will make an Avodah Zorah. But he's because it happened, so he left it. Rava says, he saw the signature of Achia Shleni, what Yerobim did. He thought, oh, maybe it's a Levius here. The Chesiva says, it says in Pasuk, and exactly the Raya in the Pasuk, I'm not sure. What basically saying is, I'm not doing it for my own covet. That this what Yerobim said is somehow or another this is what the Eibishter wanted, and what the whole idea of not going to Oile Regel is only Oiver Asay, and therefore we have to listen to what the Navi wanted here. It's not like going to the Avodah Zorah. That's what he convinced himself. The Achreinim and the Rishonim actually try to understand how Yehu is such a tzaddik, and the Pasuk is a tzaddik. Why would he allow Avodah Zorah, despite all this said and done? Signature of Rishonim, but why did he allow it to continue? Somehow or another, he thought it wasn't Avodah Zorah, and therefore he thought you can leave it. Anyhow, what time?